Hello, everyone. We're going to be giving another couple minutes for the last folks to jump on, so we'll go ahead and get started in a few moments. Okay, well, hello, everyone, and welcome. My name is Michael Burke with Interdyne BMI, and I just wanted to thank you all for attending today's webinar, Powerful Web and Excel-Based Reporting, Budgeting, and Dashboards with BI360. This session will be led by Niels Rasmussen, the CEO for Solver. Niels is responsible for the development and both overall strategy as well as software and services delivery. Niels founded Solver Incorporated in 1996 and since then has led the Solver team to complete over 1,000 implementations worldwide. If you have any questions during today's presentation, please use the chat feature or the raised hand icon on your dashboard that's located on the right-hand side of your screen. We're also going to have some time for questions and answer with Niels at the end of today's webinar, and we'll be answering all the questions submitted then. And that should cover the housekeeping, so with that, you can take it away, Niels.
All right. And Michael, just quick check. You can see my screen, I take it?
Yeah, it's looking good.
Perfect. Great. Thank you. And thanks for that very nice and formal introduction. So this is Nils speaking here. I'm looking forward to talk to you over the next 55 minutes or so until we go through Q&A. So repeating what Michael said, please enter your questions there on the right side in GoToMeeting. We have a lot of people on, so that's the easiest way to let everyone have a voice without a lot of background noise. So I first of all want to mention that we have worked with BMI for many, many years, and they're one of our top partners here in the United States. And we're just really excited about all the initiatives we're doing together around adding more stronger reporting, budgeting dashboards for all of you guys that are their Dynamics customers. This little survey that you see here was done by Gartner Group a little bit more than a year ago, where they asked CFOs what are the most important areas for you within business intelligence. And it came out like you see here. And when we looked at it, we were excited to see that the top 5 of the areas that the CFOs were prioritizing were actually all covered within BI360. So, dashboarding, reporting, budgeting, data warehousing, and also doing things like allocations that can give you gross margin or profitability reports at a very detailed level, like by customer, product, project, and so on. So BI360, in other words, can do a lot of things within BI. It's not just, let's say, an FRX replacement or report writer. It covers those other areas. And that really comes from 4 modules within our product. The report writer. A lot of you guys use FRX or Management Reporter for your general ledger reports. So BI360 can completely replace that if that's interesting to you. But it also does sub-ledger reporting on all of the Dynamics systems. So GP, SL, NAV, AX, even Microsoft CRM. So you can do detailed operational reports like accounts receivable, accounts payable, even reconciling data within Dynamics, for example, between a subledger and a GL. So you can do an AP to GL reconciliation report. So it can be a very operational report writer, but it can also be on the opposite end of the scale, the place where you do your financial statements and your consolidated reports if you have many companies. So that's a key part of BI360, but it's also a budgeting and forecasting tool. So where it says planning there, that's the name of our budgeting and forecasting module. Usually when we survey people about what tools they use for budgeting, about 90 to 95% of the people in the room will say we use just manual Excel spreadsheets in our budget process. And then they usually would say that we're importing the result of that into the general ledger in Dynamics. That's very, very normal. And then when you grow large enough that that's painful, then typically you would talk to someone like us that can have an automated, database-driven, secure budget model compared to just spreadsheets. So we do that. Our dashboards is more, modern in terms of it's an area where most people don't have anything today, in typical mid-market companies, but they want to have some sort of graphical analysis, especially for their managers. So we have that as part of our product suite. And then the data warehouse is the fourth module, which really allows you to not only report on Dynamics data, but also include data from literally any other data source. So I'm not going to read through this slide here, but that details out a little bit more for each of these four modules. That you can come through the web, you can come through our very strong Excel add-in, and the data warehouse, again, is capable to operate in three different areas. It can be a budget database, reporting and consolidation, but also linked to other data sources and be a true data warehouse. My last slide before we start the actual demo. This one is in a simplified way saying, hey, if you deploy BI360 with all of its four modules, how would that look? And you can see here that the ERP system there at the bottom. So for all of you guys on the call, that would be one of the Dynamics ERPs. And that's often the centerpiece of data, right? There's a lot of data produced by the ERP. And if you look at both the dashboard and the report writer, it does something that very few BI tools do, which is that they can both report live, like real time, directly on your general ledger and your subledgers, but you can also do that through our data warehouse, where your data is uploaded from Dynamics and maybe other data sources into our data warehouse, by the way, which is a normal Microsoft SQL Server database. And then you can do the reporting and dashboards through the warehouse. So we can operate in both those ways, therefore being able to actually replace a lot of manual reporting, budgeting processes going on in Excel and with smart lists, management reporter, FRX, SQL reporting services, you name it. There's so many reporting tools that you typically need to do, reporting, to report on all areas of Dynamics and other systems. So that's the idea here, is that with BI360 you can start very small, maybe only with the report writer, and then you can over time grow into all of the four modules, and it really also creates a roadmap for you, a BI roadmap, so that you can become a more of a best-in-class organization, that you're not just stuck with many tools and many exports to Excel and so on. So that's our goal with BI360. And as of right now, we are, I think as of yesterday, at like 1,150 customers. Almost all of them are running Dynamics. We have a few other ERPs that we support. And every day we get new customers. So, it's a fast-growing product that just shows that a lot of companies want to improve their BI processes with the BI suite. Okay. So with that said, let's go out and look at BI360. What I want to do is I want to start up on the web browser, and then we'll work our way back to Excel and show you how you can also run and build reports and budgets in Excel. Okay. Now this is the latest addition to BI360 is the web portal. So that was launched a couple of years ago. And as you can see, I'm now in a web browser. So if you aren't used to web-based reporting and dashboards and budgeting for Dynamics, well, with BI360, you can do all of that through the browser. Now, if you're a smaller organization, you might have no need for that. If you're just a couple of people, running reports and doing budgets, you probably don't need the browser because it's easy enough to do through our Excel add-in. But if you got 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 people that you would like to serve themselves, self-service, then suddenly a browser is a beautiful way to deploy it because there's no software that has to be installed anywhere on the user's desktop. So if you look at our little demo portal here, you can notice there's some folders on the left, and you can actually make your own folders here as an administrator to organize your dashboards, reports, and budget templates any way you want. Okay? To navigate through, it is really simple because you can have these big images, and the system creates these images itself once you build reports and dashboards, and you can simply scroll through them to get to what you want. You can also search. You see there's a search box up there on the left, and of course you can go and just find it through the folders or the lists. But personally, I like this, and I use this portal every single day because here at Solver we're also a Dynamics customer. So just as an example, if you go back a little bit, you might have some dashboards that are for your executives that are very high level, like you see here. And for those of you that have never worked with the dashboard tool before, dashboards are really mostly about graphics. And I would personally say that the highest value that I get from dashboards is trend analysis, being able to look at my numbers excuse me, in charts, like you see at the bottom of the screen here, over time. Not even 1 year like we have in this example, but I like 2-3 years of monthly trend analysis. It's fantastic, year over year to see and be able to predict revenues and other things because you're seeing that graphically. So that's an example of a dashboard. A dashboard can be all like summarized financials. You see revenues, expenses, profits, actual budget, but now you see it by month down there. But you can also include other data. If you remember that data warehouse, we said really any other data from outside of Dynamics can be included. So if you don't have headcount in Dynamics, well, you can enter it or import it to the warehouse from other places. Maybe things like website statistics if your website is important to you, or any other type of information. And if I click on the total headcount, see this demo company has 1,800 people, then it drills down because I set up that chart to drill down, and you see headcount by department. So that's an example of drill down. Now let's say you did your analysis there, and you come to the bottom of your screen, and you want to quickly scoot over to a report or another dashboard. Let's say I want to dig more into revenue, so I go to a more detailed dashboard focused on that. That might look like this. And you design these dashboards here in the BI360 web portal, and they have nothing to do with Excel because Excel isn't really a great dashboard tool anyway. So that's why that's all web-based here. And it's actually quite easy to build dashboards, even easier than building a financial statement. So here's another one. It shows my 4 business units here for literally by revenue count, so product sales, service sales, and so on. If I click on one of the business units, you notice 2 features. A, it drilled down, like in the prior example on headcount, into that chart, but in this case it drilled from the year to date to the quarterly. But B, it also had links to these 3 charts at the bottom, and now all 3 of them are showing that one company that I click on here. And as you see, they change accordingly. So you can get to a lot of information very quick with, very easy to see analysis. In this case, how we're doing versus budget, right? We very quickly see that. Now, you might not be such a graphical person. If you're not, maybe you want to spend more time with reports. This is, I think, the only business intelligence tool, and I've seen a lot of them, that totally seamlessly combines reporting with dashboards. Same security, same portal. They're even on the same list there. So I come the bottom, I say, let me move over to a P&L report. This is written with our report writer. You're not in the dashboard anymore. You're actually looking at the report from the report writer. And this can be formatted very nicely because guess what? You're building these reports in Excel with our Excel add-in. So that might include some charts. It might not. It might have logos. It might have different fonts, background colors, the things that Excel provides, which will give you, if you're coming from FRX or Management Reporter, a lot stronger formatting and calculation ability. That's probably why most you're exporting your data to Excel from FRX and Management Reporter. So that's an example of that. If you see something of interest like this 1.3 million, you can right-click and drill down all the way into journal entries. You can even set up the drill down to go through the GL into, let's say, accounts payable or another subledger. And when you drill down, it goes into Dynamics in this case and gets the underlying transactions, or the data warehouse if you built the report there. So you very quickly see what's going on. So you have full drill down right there. If you say, hey, this is a great way to deploy this to my end users, but a lot of them like to touch the numbers in Excel. So even if they just can run their own reports to the web, they quite often want it to Excel, or they might want to email it to someone. So you can go to the top of the screen and say, share, either then shoot it off as an email. It will now become an Excel attachment to the email, and the recipient does not need a license at all. Or you say download, and you give it a name like that. It now comes down from the web, wherever in the world you are, it comes down from the web browser to your desktop, and you can open that up, and you can see it's exactly the same report. You see there, and you can do a little bit of analysis, because that might be the reason they want to take it here. Well, of course, they might want to say file, print, and as you know, Excel does a great job at printing and fit to page and so on, but they might want to do some analysis. For example, I might run this report before you close the books in Dynamics. Depends what type of power you want to give to the end users. I do that from the first week of the month. I start running GL reports like P&Ls, and I do exactly this. I do my little analysis, trying to guesstimate where that month is going to end up. And this is totally harmless, what I'm doing, because I'm just doing analysis on an exported report. I'm not writing any data back, but it helps me very quickly do my analysis without rebuilding formulas, right? Because if you saw everything updated when I typed in these numbers, because it has preserved the original Excel formulas that somebody created when they built this report. Even though I ran it to the web and I exported to Excel, the Excel formulas are still there, okay? So that was a little bit about just exporting out to Excel. Let's come back to the web, 1 or 2 more minutes. So that was a financial statement. You saw a couple of dashboards. What else can BI360 do? Well, let's scoot over here. Other, balance sheets, cash flows. Let's look at this guy right here. What's that? That's a subledger report. So that means that you can also use BI360 for accounts receivable reports, payables, sales, inventory, you name it. If it's in Dynamics, you can write reports on it. Okay, that's a sales report. Now, one thing, as you move back and forth between reports, let's say go to a cash flow statement here, is that if you look here on the top, you have parameters. So if I wanted to run this cash flow, let's say for August instead of September, I can just come here and switch. Well, sometimes it's faster just to type it into like that and say run. So these are not static reports. They're just as live as reports you have in SSRS or FRX or Management Reporter, even though I'm now able to run this in the browser. And I can sit at home, at an airport, in the office. As long as I have a connection with my browser to the database, we can do this. Okay. The other thing I really like is, as you saw, it was in September, and I went back and ran it for August. How do I get back to September without rerunning it? What if this report is a heavy report that, let's say, took half a minute to run or a minute to run? Why have to rerun it if it was already run? So click on the left, you see there's 2015-09 September. Notice there's no execution time. You see that? So you can very quickly traverse across reports that you have run it for before. Not reports, but periods and parameters. Okay. Last thing on the web, you saw dashboards, you saw reports, both GL and sub-ledger reports. What about budgeting and forecasting? Can we use the web portal for that too? Yes. So you might have both a budget and the forecast process, maybe even unique budget reports, and maybe you'll organize it the way I've done here. What you see here is actually a full-blown budget model. Now I will show you this through Excel in more detail, the exact same template you see here. So I'm not going to open every single one, but I'm going to open just one, the last one here, which is at the general ledger level. So all of the other ones were detailed revenue, project budgeting, capital budgeting, payroll budgeting, and here's summarized budgeting, everything else that's just going to be entered at the account level. So if you look in here, notice that this is indeed data entry of budgets in your web browser. And you can drag and copy, you can even type in what looks like an Excel formula, because we emulate Excel formulas here, and that works as well, especially if I type the right formula like that. Okay, and you can hit save. The database, the data saves to the BI360 Data Warehouse, and move on to the next template. And this is all parameter driven. So if you have 30 departments that's going to use this, one template, but based on their user security, they will go and pick their department here and run the template for themselves. So can be completely web-based budget, no distribution of files, no VPN, no terminal server. Just open your browser and do the budget. That's all I'm going to say about budgeting here, because I want to spend a little bit more time showing it through Excel, because usually at least half of people we talk to actually prefer to keep the budget process in Excel. They just want to automate it. All right. So let's leave the web portal. We're not going to save that data, so we'll say no thanks. And let's come down into the Excel world. A lot of you might have a unique need. Maybe the only reason you're on this webinar is to, let's say, replace FRX, and you want to have an alternative to management report. So how does that look? Well, that just reminds me that I should mention to you that those of you that are still on FRX, these days is usually about 25–30% of Dynamics customers that came from SL or GP or AX 2009 are still running FRX. We have a converter for those of you that are on Dynamics GP and SL that automatically converts FRX reports into BI360 reports. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to build the report for you, and then also run a few more reports that are already built, so you can see both things here. But with that converter, you don't have to rebuild your FRX reports. The system can do it. Or if you already moved to Management Reporter and you aren't happy there, and you want to have a tool like BI360, but you still have kept a copy of your old FRX reports, then usually IT has that stored somewhere, that Access database where FRX have its report definition. It's still not too late. We can go back and convert those automatically. So we have a tool for that. That's actually free to convert reports. However, the main reason, and by the way, I'm going to pick GP because I know a lot of you are on GP, so I'm going to use my example running a report of GP. But if you're on NAV, SL, AX, same thing. We connect live or the warehouse. But I'm just going to say that the main reason that people look at the BI360 report writer isn't necessarily that they can convert their old reports, but it's because it's a great place to be for all your new reports that you haven't built yet, or it's a great place to make your reports smaller and simpler, as you'll see in a second, than what they were in, let's say, FRX Management Reporter. Because here you will actually see we have a more dynamic technology where you need fewer rows and columns, and of course you have better formatting because you're in Excel. Let's build a report. This is going to be the part of the demo where you see how you actually use the report writer to create new reports. This is normally a 2-day training class. Very similar to what it would be for again, an FRX or management reporter. You don't have to be an IT person at all. This is built for business people, for finance people. We don't probably have to teach you Excel. So that means what I'm doing right here, you already know when you walk into the training class, how you use colors and fonts and so on in Excel. So it's usually a 2-day training class. A lot of people are quite good with Excel and they're quite good with report writers, and it actually might be a day training class, but we like to say on average is 2 days. So anyway, I'm going to put it in this way: account, description, and then we'll put some period formulas over here. So we're going to build a little report. We'll do a trial balance. Again, I picked Dynamics GP as my sample here, just so that all of you can see how I'm writing a live report. In this case, we'll pick the general ledger. It will be exactly the same if you're running one of the other dynamic systems, except you will see slightly different names on these folders because, again, it's then sitting on AX or NAV and so on. The first thing you can notice is that it's very extensive. You're not just seeing the general ledger here, but you're actually seeing, purchasing, and within purchasing, you're seeing payables, purchase orders, and we have, massive dynamic integrations. On top of there, now you're looking at payables. We've also translated the SQL names in the Dynamics databases to plain English. That's a big part of the benefit of making it easier for you to actually write sub-ledger reports. And actually, if my mouse moves over one of these, you see the SQL name, just in case you're curious what that is called. That cryptic name is what we're saving you from by having spent months and months translating them into something that makes sense. Basically, the friendly names. However, we're going to do something really simple now. We're going to do a trial balance. So we come back to the GL. We're going to come back in here. In Great Plains, you have an account string, and that has segments. So that's automatically read up into the report writer and chopped up. So you can use either the string or the segments or both when you write the report. I'm going to just do it on the whole string now, so I'm going to drag that in. This is how you build a report, how you connect to the, in this case, the general ledger. You drag and drop the fields onto the report. Here's the account description, drag and drop. And there's the amount field, the balance, drag and drop. What about the columns? Let's think about our columns here. Let's say we want year to date in the first one. This area here of BI360 is where we have our predefined period functions. So notice all of these functions. They just make it very, very easy to build reports with periods because you don't have to type in formulas. So you can just drag them in. And let's say you have a calculation like a variance. That's very nice with all Excel add-ins, including BI360, because it's standard Excel. This is a very simple formula, right, that I did here. But if you have, if statements where you say if, you're more than 10% above budget, then make the background red in Excel and put an exclamation mark and a statement saying, hey, please add a comment. Well, you can do that because that's an Excel if statement, right? And all of that will work in your report. So you got a lot more formulas than what you have in tools like SSRS, FRX, Management Reporter. Really not thanks to us, but thanks to Microsoft making Excel so powerful. And we get that for free by living within Excel. Okay. Let's add a total here. You can do an Excel total, or even faster. BI360 has a function for that. Formatting, standard Excel, right, with dollar formatting and so on. Let's say you don't like that header it brought in. No problem, just type on top of it. The real magic wasn't the header that you dragged in. It was actually that when you drag that header in, it automatically built the prompt, and it, you see on the columns, almost like a column table in FRX and Management Reporter. It put in last year to date on column E and year to date there. BI360 is the only third generation Excel add-in that I've seen on the market. And when third generation, I mean the capabilities of really managing the very guts of Excel, such as having row and column formulas. Every other Excel add-in I've seen, you have to populate every single cell with all of these things. Now, we forgot one thing. When we dragged in the account string, we never said which accounts we want, right? So you can see here on row 7, we have a lookup, looking up into your chart of accounts, and we can do a range. This is a very interesting feature you'll see in a second. By having this button checked called expanding, things suddenly get very dynamic. Let's go and run this report because we're actually finished with it, and run that for March 2014. Now you see what I mean. We built a 1-row report, right? Let me go back into this one more time. It's a 1-row report. Well, it's 2 if you add my total. But when we ran it, because we made that account selection a range from the first to the last account, we got a 241-row report. This is where I say, think a little bit. If you were to build this trial balance in most report writers, including FRX and Management Reporter, could you, with 2 rows in the report writer, get a 241-row report? No. Take FRX and Management Reporter, you would build a 241-row row table. That means if we were in a race saying who can build a report fastest, and it was a similar report to this, by now you would probably be around row 11 in FRX or Management Report in the row table, working your way down row by row by row, right? And here we're finished, and we can go and do something else, right? Also, drill down is there immediately. Right-click, drill down. I can hit directly journal entries or the trial balance table, but let's go to journal entries on that cash account. And notice you see the master name, and you see all of the detail, comments that people have made when they posted this in Dynamics and so on. Okay, so drill down is there immediately, and you can actually tailor the drill down window to drill through to subledgers or to only include the columns that you think is useful. Let's do one more thing though. Let's add a filter for department. So if you think you can do and learn what I showed you so far, which I'm pretty sure you can, then how about adding some filters to this thing so it doesn't just run for all your departments when you run it. So let's come back to the GL. Let's open the account string and find one of these dimensions. In this demo database from Microsoft, we have department and division. Let's pick division. So we click this button here. Notice this. That selects the whole report. That means it's globally a filter for the whole report. I'm going to pick division. So I want to have a filter for that. So I drag that in, look up. Now I could hard code this to always run for, let's say, division 300. But I don't like hard coding. Make it dynamic, right? So nobody has to change his formula again. So we click on parameters. You go through this little wizard. You really don't need to do anything because it's going to pick all the best choices for you, for drop-down boxes for your users and so on. So you don't really need to do anything. But I want to show you this one button, create sheet per value. You're going to see in a second what that does for you. Now, before we do that, we probably want to show the division up here in our header, right? So we can take that prompt that the user was going to, enter, if you will. Let me just drag this all the way up. There it is, division. That's the one we just created, and we can put it in right there. Okay. Then we can say run. Notice now we have 2 prompts, period and division, and it looks up into Dynamics and it gives us nicely only that dimension, division, or part of your account string. Let's run it for 300. That seems to work, right? And we don't have a 241-row trial balance anymore. We have only the accounts that have postings for department 300 or division 300. Now, what if I do this? I select all the departments. Let's check this out. Look carefully at the bottom of Excel right now, right? So we have this tiny little report we built, but we selected a whole bunch of divisions there or departments. And now look what happened. It automatically generated the report over and over again, exactly like you're used to when you run the report on the reporting tree in FRX or Management Reporter. But then what you normally do is you export it to Excel, if you're like most people we talk to, and then you usually add formatting so that it looks nice. Here, remember, it's natively built in Excel. So that means if you do, if you make this, let's just mess with this a little bit, green, and you make this, it's going to be really ugly, orange, and so on, right? When you run these reports, it's always going to be that way. Every report, you don't have to reformat it each time because now it's permanently there, as you see, right? That same goes for charts and all kinds of other stuff. So in a nutshell, that's how you build a report in BI360. Now, some of you are probably already thinking, okay, I get it, but he's not talking about consolidations. What if I have many companies inside of Dynamics? Can you consolidate across my companies and also generate like consolidated versions on this in Excel, where maybe the first sheet is the summary version of the report? So yes, we can do that. I'll show you that next. Let me just say one last thing. When you finish the report, you actually built a new report for your organization, right? And it's a permanent thing. Either you just go File, Save As, and you have a place on the network where, which has a backup running every night and so on, where reports are kept. Or if you're going to use the web portal because you like that interface, you can then say Publish up to the web, and there's a button here on the toolbar, and then it will show up here. And actually, there's an administrative menu you don't see here because I'm logged in as an end user, and that's where the administrator then can take that report and decide what folder it goes into. So it's literally 30 seconds, 45 seconds to take a report that was like this, built here in Excel, to make it into a web-based report you can run from anywhere in the world through the browser. Okay? There's no rebuilding of the report. It's the same thing. Now, let us go and look at a report. Let's close this thing that is already built, something a little bit more fancy than that quick report, and that answers the question about what consolidations can look like. So if you stay in Excel with your reporting, or you do budgeting in Excel, you might use this folder system here to organize reports. So you're not dealing, with files on the network or something like that, or in your desktop. You might organize it this way. And here are a whole bunch of templates. So all of the dynamic systems have pre-built templates that you can download from our website, so they don't cost anything. And also our data warehouse, which is used by more than half of all our customers, has probably about 100 different templates for reports and budgets. And so you see a bunch of them here. They're all downloadable. If nothing else, they can give you some really good ideas. So here's a normal P&L report. Notice how short it is. If this was for Excel Management Reporter, you would probably see 60 or 70 rows, hard-coded with all the different rows. So I'm going to point to a couple of features here. So let's run this first. Notice first, I'm using trees. This is a feature you get with the data warehouse, that you can have hierarchies. In this case, 4 different roll hubs that I made here, in case you are reorganizing or doing acquisitions and so on. So this is more specifically for people with consolidations, that you might use that feature. So let's first just run it for one entity. So we run that report. Now I'm going to point out a couple other features. What are these colors? That's actually Excel exception highlighting. That works. Any Excel feature works in BI360. So, good or bad variances sticks out very good. A couple other things. I had pointed out the roles. I said, see how short the report is. Well, notice now that it executed. This one groups the expense side by department, as you can see. And that is, not a small report, as you see, right? It's a big one because it expanded out all those account ranges dynamically. What about the columns? Actually, I've used the same feature here. Plus, I used the Excel feature of being able to expand and collapse. That's very popular amongst our customers, both on rows and columns, is compact the report into just kind of summary levels and let the users, expand it up whenever they need to see the detail. And of course, you can keep drilling down, right-click, drill down, like you've seen earlier. Okay. But what about this, running these like you do in FRX and Management Reporter, like reporting trees? Let's run it up at the summary level, like this division. What happens now? Exactly the same thing that you saw with the trial balance we built, that it replicates the report across the tabs in Excel dynamically. The difference is I'm running it on the tree, so it also produced a summary on the first one. See, that's your consolidated P&L, and that's US, which is that subsidiary there, that's Canada, that subsidiary there, and so on. A little side note, if you have currency conversion in your business, so you have foreign entities, or you have eliminations, BI360 has full functionality for both manual automatic eliminations, consolidation adjustments, like IFRS to GAAP adjustments, and currency conversion. If you don't have that, but you might grow and get it in the future, feel safe that you will never grow out of BI360. Much rather, you might grow into it and use more and more of the features. Okay. Notice if I run it at the top of my tree, it's going to give me about 8 reports, starting with the consolidated for the whole company, and then division Asia, and then inside of Asia, and so on. And you should see that right there coming up on your screen. And it's lined up exactly in order you would normally analyze it. Okay. So with that said, let's show a few budget forms, and I'm looking at the clock, so we have about 12 more minutes or so before we go to Q&A, right? We have 1 hour in total here. So I'm going to come over to my budget tab. I'm going to close this, go into my assignment. I'm going to not talk more about reports, but I'm going to talk a little bit more about budgeting. I'm not going to give you, a full budget demo, because that's probably an hour by itself, and that can easily be follow-up presentation individually with your organization. But I'm going to show you enough that you understand that BI360 can manage pretty much any type of budget model. Why can I say that without having seen your budget model? Because we are in Excel. As I said in the beginning, most people already do their budget manually in Excel, and you don't lose any formulas, any Excel features here. That's why I can feel very confident saying, if you can do your budget model manually in Excel, we can do it automatically in BI360, because we're also in Excel. Okay. So let me show you one forecast template, because that's typically how most organizations start their budget process, is by forecasting the rest of the year. And we do that very elegantly. In this case, I have multi-company just to make this more complex. If you don't, great for you. You only have one company then. You don't need that selection. But I have multi-company, and then, of course, the department within the company. And then I say I want to have actuals up to March. That, for many people, might be September or something. And I run this template. Notice how, bam, it expanded out. It picked up 3 months of actuals, because that's what we said, that we had actuals up to March. And it opened up the rest of the year for forecasts. Now, I've been here before, so you see there's some numbers up there already. But you're in Excel now. Just like earlier I was in the web, you're now using actually a similar template here in Excel. That's your choice. If you want to, you're going to build it here anyway. That's just where we design the template. But you can run it through Excel or the web. That's, again, depending on what's most convenient for users. You can create the budget and forecast template with history showing up on the left side, in this case on the right side, so you see the prior year, and that might help you in your process of doing the entry here. Okay. So, example of a forecast template. What this means is doing forecasting, let's say for 10 departments, is very easy from a management standpoint, because they use this template, right? Next department comes in. Based on security, they will not see the other department, so nobody's going to get into the wrong data. Let's say that's the head of department 200. Same template. Hit run. Bam, it populates. That's not the revenue generating department, so you see the top is empty. The other one was the sales department. That's why you had data there. And bam, now we are department 200, doing this for ourselves. Of course, every time you've done this, you can hit the save button, right? So it goes into the database. Next department comes in. Of course, they can do this at the same time too. I'm just playing around there. Let's say that's department 100. Same template, but they run it for department 100, right? No distribution of files, no linking of Excel files. Excel is just a dynamic template pushing this data into the database once you're saving it. Okay? That's an example of forecast. Let's look at two quick examples of budgets so that you can at least see a little glimpse of that. So we're going to switch over to another folder here where I'm managing my annual budget template. So your end users, what do they need to know? Open Excel, click on BI360 Planning, and this button. That's really all they need to know to get in here. And we showed forecasting first, but now I'm showing budgeting. So you would have something similar, presumably, where you have maybe some assumptions, maybe payroll budget, maybe CapEx. If you want to do cash flow, we're very good at that. So then we can capture that through some balance sheet entry, and you have automatic cash flow forecast. Maybe you do project budgeting. If you don't, you simply wouldn't create templates for those things. Okay. Let's just show two. So one payroll template, and then I'll show you one at the GL level. Okay, so let's go back and be department 300 again. Remind you that security here would not let me do what I just did, hop between departments, unless you're the boss, unless you're the administrator, right? End users would only see their department. That's an example of a payroll template. As usual, all of the yellow cells are for data entry. And a lot of people actually start out with this template during implementation and modify it. Maybe they want different columns, different colors. It just tends to be, a lot of these templates are built by us based on what a lot of customers typically use. So yeah, you may not create it from scratch. You may actually download and use some templates and just modify them. That's up to you. But if you do something completely different than what I'm showing you, you're going to be sitting in our report writer, but designing a budget template as compared to a report. It's the same way you build it. It's just some extra steps to make an input template compared to a report. So we made some changes there to Scott. Said he's going to work here actually only from March to October, get a 3% increase in July, and then it goes in and populates every single month for Scott with FICA, Medicare, FUTA. It knows FICA, FUTA Max. All of those are actually drivers because I skipped the template where I had entered these assumptions. But now it's got pulled from the database, so nobody needs to sit and type that into these templates. It also calculates headcount. And if you have not salaried employees, but employees that are by the hour, maybe it's a brand new person. So of course these other ones we would load from your payroll system into BI360's data warehouse before the budget process. ADP, Ceridian, all of these payroll systems that you export the payroll for, let's say, prior year, and you can import it here. But let's say you're a brand new person. So this is an assistant clerk. Doesn't come from your payroll system, so it doesn't exist. But we know we're going to make this hire. So we're going to enter that person up as wrong row. There we go. And that person is going to start in February, work through the end of the year, so I don't need to say anything there. 800 hours, $14 an hour. Notice as soon as I press enter, it generated the salary across here starting with February, and it also generated a temporary employee number because this person didn't exist before. That's a number BI360 can generate, and a text to be hired number 1. So we have fully automated system so that your department heads can add brand new positions or propose positions without them being entered by an administrator on the back end. And then at the bottom, it rolls it up to your general ledger accounts. So that means this template will save all of this detail into our payroll module in the BI360 Data Warehouse. So now that acts like a budget database, and it will save this summary at the bottom over to the general ledger module of the Data Warehouse. And later, most people will send that general ledger budget back into Dynamics, into the GL. A lot of people like to get it back there too. So that's taken care of. You're going to hit save. The data is saved to the database, and you're going to move along to the next template. This will be the very last part I show you in this demo as far as budgeting and forecasting. And I'm going to skip a few and go up to actually like a G&A example, general or general expenses and administrative expenses. So we're going to stay here on department 300, run that. Nice, it populates. I've been here before, so there's already numbers, but let's go and type in on some of the empty rows. On the right side, you can see we have actual last year plus forecast for the rest of the year. So that's auto-populated. And let's just do one example here of line item detail. Let's delete out training there, like that. Let's say here, actually I want to do spreading from last year. I don't want to type it in, or I want to do line item. So I can click this button up here, and it even shows you graphically how that account looked last year. And of course, we haven't done the budget yet. I'm going to collapse that and make this window a little bit bigger. So as you see, going below here, we're right there on the training row. There's actual last year for the training expense. So let's first show you how we can just copy that. Bam. Maybe increase it. See, that slider makes it very easy to increase or decrease by a percent. Let's do 16%. And update. Bam. You see that dropped that down to Excel. And I can move to the next account in this window. This is actually how I did a lot of our sales department's budget this year. Just scrolling through each account, copying, increasing it by a percent. What if the training has to be built up by line item? And then you can click here and say, I'm going to do some dynamics training. And that's going to be out here in April, $1,200. And then we're going to do some BI360 training. You don't know what month, so you say, I just need to budget for it. Let's say it's $2,000, and I just spread it evenly. And then finally, some other training. And you also don't know what that is, but you want to allocate, let's say, $5,000. And notice, and I can even say what it is, or add some more comments, there's text fields too. So now we had 3 line items, and you can have as many as you want, right? Now those roll up to the total, collapse, hide that, and that's sitting right here. If you ever want to come back and see what that was, click there, and you can see, we just collapse this, that the line items are still there. We actually save them to the database, so even drilling down on budget columns in your reports later, you can get to the line items. So that is just one of many, many ways to set up the budget model, and in this case, go behind an account. It's a pre-built function. It's nothing you have to actually create. Okay? We got 8 minutes to go. We've shown you a little bit of forecasting, a little bit of budgeting. There is no time today to do a lot more on that. I'll just mention what I mentioned a little bit earlier, that we're very good with BI360 at things like cash flow. So if you capture the balance sheet items that I briefly touched on when I said there was a template for that, well, then you can go here and you can run the cash flow report. I don't have time to do it, but I just show you. That's automatic because we got your revenues, we got your expenses, a little bit of entry on the balance sheet, and a lot of the balance sheet we can do automatically. You got an automated cash flow. Other things, sub-ledger reports, payables, receivables, sales reports. Remember, the report writer works on the sub-ledgers in Dynamics, so it's great for that too. And finally, if you're really fancy and you do modeling, in the follow-up with us, we can show you some examples of that, where you can enter the desired net profit. This we call a breakback, and you can automatically actually use history to create the entire forecast for you, starting with the net profit, and it will generate expenses and revenues and so on. There are a lot of cool things we can do. There's more modeling, quick creation of forecasts and so on, outside of a very structured budget process. 2 things that we're not going to show you because of time is we have a publisher and we have a composer. A publisher is automatic email distribution of reports, so you don't need to run and distribute reports. So with the publisher, you will just do that automatically. And the other one, actually you see the publisher right here. It has scheduling and all of that stuff. And the other one is a composer, which is ad hoc queries. Very popular. We don't even design a report. It's just query, 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 and you get your data. Okay. So with that, actually, I see we have 6 minutes, so I just changed my mind. I'm going to show you 1.5 minutes of ad hoc query, and then we'll go to Q&A. So if you have questions, please start entering them on the right side there in GoToMeeting, and we will go ahead and then start answering them afterwards. But again, I'm picking a Dynamics ERP here. Why would you ever go into the composer? Well, if you're an accountant in particular that or somebody who all the time needs data out of Dynamics, but you don't want to build a report, you want it in a few seconds, this is ad hoc query at the best, I would say. So you see the same full Dynamics integration that you saw earlier. So I'm going to say, what if I want to see some payments I made to some vendors? How fast can I get to that data? Well, I can come in here to, payables, transactions. Everything is in friendly names thanks to our integration. So I'm going to drag in vendor. I'm going to drag in vendor name. I promised you 1.5 minutes, so let's see if I can keep my promise. Due date. How about the description that some accountant typed in when they entered that payables transaction? And how about the amount? How about being able to find exactly the vendors without seeing thousands of them? So do a filter by vendor and period. How about looking up in your vendor table like this and picking those vendors and using our automated calendaring system, which means you don't always deal with dates. You can just select months, even on the subledger, and saying, I want to see the first 3 months of 2014. And now I just taught you how to do an ad hoc query and pull payables data out of Dynamics. You might say, let me group it by vendor name and add subtotals. And now I taught you how to do that. So you can actually do pretty fancy stuff in almost no time with just drag and drop. And then you can print this, you can save it, so you can bring this up next time. You can even transfer it into the report writer in Excel and add formatting and make it into a very beautiful AP report. But first of all, this is awesome for ad hoc queries. So I know this is the time to wrap up. So let's just say this. Today, you've seen the 4 modules of BI360. You actually haven't seen the data warehouse. It has a beautiful interface, non-technical, but you've seen me run some reports and some dashboards that actually came from the warehouse. And when I showed you the trees, that was actually using the trees in the warehouse. So it's been part of the demo, if nothing else. And you've clearly seen dashboards, budgeting, reporting. We even built the report. And the last couple of minutes, we showed you the ad hoc query part of the reporting. So hopefully no stone have been left untouched here in terms of major BI functionality. And as we now go to questions, we'll leave this on the screen. I mentioned BMI is a major partner of Solver, and we love them because they have trained a number of people on BI360 that are really good with our product, so that you don't necessarily have to deal with us. You can deal with your Dynamics partner being BMI, and they can help you with implementations and training and be a lot more local to you. A lot of our people are in LA and other places in the country. So BMI is a great partner. Now, let's see, Michael, do you want to see if there's any questions for us there?
Yeah, we did have some submitted, so we can just hammer through these. So the first one is, can BI360 export dashboards or reports to SharePoint?
Yes. So there are 2 technologies, so I'll have to answer for both of them. The reports, as you saw, you build in Excel. You can absolutely export them to SharePoint. You can even automatically do it with the report publisher you saw for about 2 seconds. The one that can distribute by email can also publish to SharePoint. The dashboards are very, they're not Excel, so they're not in a typically exportable format, but we can do better than that. You can stick the whole web portal where the dashboards are built and run inside of SharePoint. We actually have normally a slide for that in our PowerPoint, but I think it's taken out there, showing BI360's web portal live inside of SharePoint. So you don't even have to export reports or dashboard. You can actually run the whole thing inside of SharePoint. Only interesting if you use SharePoint. If you don't, of course, the portal runs great on its own too.
Great. Another one we had, is there a sales budget template for the unit sales and costs with the plus or minus percentages instead of the general ledger accounts? And would this be the project? Yes. And would this be the project budget template?
So the templates are only examples, so we shouldn't be too attached to what we have created for demo purposes. But yes, if you're looking for templates that are already built that you can reuse or at least see as examples, we have numerous templates for, budgeting or forecasting sales by quantity, by amount. You can enter percentages. That's really all about how you set up the template, and the same for projects. So, any area of budgeting, our database where you store the budgets when you do it has 52 modules, and you probably will use 5 of them or something for budgeting, like GL, project, sales detail, payroll, assets. That's typically, the most people would use. So yes and yes.
Okay. And do you have to have a GP login to use BI360?
No. And same if you're on AX or any of the other ones, you don't need a license for Dynamics for any component of BI360. The only time you would need it, and this particular end of my answer is unique to GP, is we've set up a drill down that drills and opens GP. That's a feature we were able to do just the way GP works. And obviously for that, if you do drill and open the screen in GP, then obviously you need a GP license. But everything I showed today, drilling down, getting transactions back to the web or Excel, reports, budgets, all of that, you don't need the GP license or AX or whatever license.
Perfect. And we got 2 more left here. So is there a demo of the software that works with the GP sample company, and can the manuals be downloaded before purchase?
Yes and yes. And today I twice actually, you probably didn't see it, but I ran on the GP demo database from Microsoft, the Fabricam, I guess it's called. So the same again for the other Dynamics ERP systems. Our templates are actually, the live ones are built on the Microsoft demo versions of those systems, just so that it kind of lives in an environment many people have access to.
Great. And does BI360 handle sales forecasting?
Yes.
Okay, and then the last one we have here is, how is this product priced? Is it by seat, by month, or?
It's priced by user. So everyone would obviously have some users, and we divide that in a few categories, but the main ones are power user, which is people that can build stuff like you saw today, dashboards, reports, and budget models, and end users are lower cost because they just enter data or run reports or dashboards. So I think it's a separate probably session with you, Michael, is to show price lists and so on, but it's by user and module. Like let's say you say I only care about the report writer. Well, you can buy the report writer. You don't have to buy the web portal or the budgeting and so on. So it can be bought in modules, and it's by user.
Okay, and great. And that handled the last question. So I just wanted to thank you all for attending the presentation today. We will be sending out a follow-up email that will contain a link for the recording if you did want to rewatch anything from today's presentation. If there are any additional questions, you can feel free to reach out to your account executive or your account manager or even myself if you'd like to learn more about anything from today's presentation. On behalf of everyone at Interdyne BMI and Solver, we just wanted to thank you again for your attendance and have a great rest of your day.
Thank you, everyone, and thank you, Michael and BMI.